You're living someone else's life, following someone else's dreams, and walking a path that was never meant for you. And deep down, you know it. Maybe it's the career that your parents wanted you to do. Or maybe it's the life that your friends expect. Or maybe it's what society told you success really looks like. But it's not yours. Welcome to Motivational Monday on the Health, Wellness, and Community Podcast. I'm Dr. Quentin Moore, and today we're asking the most important question you'll ever answer. What is your path? Not the path that you're supposed to take, not the path that looks good on paper, but the path that actually matters to you. Let me tell you what happens when you live someone else's version of success. You achieve things that don't fulfill you, you reach goals that leave you empty, and you climb ladders only to realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall. I've seen this over and over. The lawyer who hates law but became an attorney because that's what the family expected. What about the business owner who's miserable running the company because that's what success is supposed to look like? And then there's the person in a relationship that checks all the boxes but doesn't feed the soul. And the cost? The cost is depression, anxiety, a constant feeling of something is missing, because you can't live authentically while following someone else's script. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. You can be successful by external measures, but still be absolutely miserable. You can have the money, the title, the house, the marriage, the life that everyone admires, and still feel completely lost because none of it's yours. You're living in someone else's vision of what your life should be. When you look at it, your path is the one that aligns with your values, your strengths, your purposes. And it's the one that energizes you instead of drains you. It's the one where you're becoming the person that you're meant to be, not the one that everybody else wants you to be. So how do you find your path when you've spent years walking someone else's? Well, I got it for you. Let me give you some questions that cut through all the noise. First, what would you do if money wasn't a factor? Not what would you do if you won the lottery, because that's fantasy. I mean, what work, what contribution, what daily activities, would you choose if financial survival wasn't a driving force? The answer points you towards your path. Second, what makes you lose track of time? What activity would you be absorbed in for hours, yet it only feels like minutes? That is not a hobby. That is a clue to your purpose. And your path, it involves doing more of what makes you feel alive and not what makes you feel obligated. Third, what problems do you naturally want to solve? Things like what injustices make you angry? And what needs do you see that others overlook? Your path often lies in the intersection of what breaks your heart and what you have the skills to address. Fourth, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I want you to strip away fear of judgment, fear of failure, and the fear of disappointing other people. What would you pursue? That is your path, trying to break through all the noise that is there. And finally, who do you admire and why? Not who impresses you, but who do you genuinely admire? What is it about that person's life, their work, their impact that resonates with you? That admiration is pointing you towards something, and you need to take note. Here's what I learned in my own journey. I didn't start nursing because it was the obvious path. Before becoming a nurse, I was actually a policeman in the Air Force, and I loved serving the public, but I didn't like some of the other sides of the job. And so I looked at nursing and I chose that path. And in doing so, I could continue to serve folks. I could help them heal. I could make a tangible difference in people's lives. And that was my path. When it comes to the nurse practitioner, the doctorate, the teaching, the podcast, all of these flow from the core of my purpose. And they're all my path, just a different expression of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Walking your own path is harder than following someone else's. When you follow a well-worn path like someone else's, you You have a map. You have approval. You have people cheering you on because you're doing what's expected. However, when you forge your own path, well, you're going to meet resistance. People will question you. Not only will they question you, they'll tell you that you're being impractical, unrealistic, selfish. They'll project their fears onto your dreams. And some of them are doing it because they love you and they don't want to see you struggle. But here's what you need to understand. Their fear is not your truth. Their limitation is not your limitation. And their version of safety is not necessarily your destiny. Walking your own path requires courage. The courage to disappoint other people. The courage to look foolish while learning. The courage to fail and get back up. The courage to choose fulfillment over approval. But the alternative is spending your entire life wondering what if. The alternative is reaching the end and realizing that you never actually lived. You just performed. This week, I want you to answer those 5 questions that I gave you. And I want you to actually write them down. Don't just put them in the back of your mind. I want you to write them down. And those questions: what would you do if money wasn't a factor? What makes you lose track of time? What problem do you want to solve? What would you do if you couldn't fail? And who do you admire and why? Look at your answers and look deeply. I want you to really look deeply, because somewhere in those answers is your path. And once you see it, you have a choice to make. Either keep walking in someone else's path or have the courage to walk in your own. And here's your Monday mantra: my path is mine alone. I will not apologize for walking in it. I will not shrink to fit someone else's vision of it. And this is my life, and I choose my path. Remember, you only get one life. You don't get a rehearsal. You don't get a do-over. The question isn't whether your path will be easy. The question is whether you're going to have the courage to walk it. If you're finding value in these Motivational Mondays, I want to ask you to subscribe to Health, Wellness, and Community. Also, please share this episode with someone who needs permission to walk their own path. And if this message resonates with you, I want you to leave a comment down below and tell me what path you're choosing. And lastly, thank you for joining me for Motivational Monday. This week, find your path, then walk it. Now go out there and live your life. We out.